All right, ladies and gentlemen, assignment number 14 from Speak. We are moving. We are getting through this book. Hopefully today we will find out a little bit more about what happened, and even more hopeful that Melinda will get some help, that she'll talk to somebody about this, that she'll get the trauma off her chest. Now, will that stop or change what happened to her? Absolutely not. But it will allow her to move forward. It'll allow her to become a whole person again. Because remember, even she said she is not a one-piece girl anymore. She's been broken up into many pieces. And it's destroying her. It's making her go crazy. So I'm worried about her. So let's see what happens today. Now, assignment number 14, we have 4 parts. We have Our Lady of the Waiting Room. We have Clash of the Titans. We have Miss, M-I-S-S, and we have Picasso. As usual, you know what you have to do for assignment number 14. Make sure you're getting all parts of the assignment done. You are defining your words. You're giving a couple of original sentences. You are answering your questions correctly. And of course, you are giving me a very good paragraph with lots of details and examples, answering any one of those open-ended questions at the end of the assignment. And make sure you're giving me details and examples from your life or the book, and even better, both of them together. So let's go. Our Lady of the Waiting Room. I find Lady of Mercy Hospital by accident. I fall asleep on the bus and miss the mall completely. The hospital is worth a try. Maybe I can learn some pre-med stuff for David. In a sick kind of way, I love it. There are waiting rooms on almost every floor. I don't want to attract too much attention to myself, so I stay on the move, checking my watch constantly, trying to look as if I have a reason for being here. I'm afraid I'll get caught, but the people around me have other things to worry about. The hospital is the perfect place to be invisible, and the cafeteria food is better than the schools. The worst waiting room is on the heart attack floor. It is crowded with gray-faced women twisting their wedding rings and watching the doors for a familiar doctor. One lady just sobs. She doesn't care that total strangers watch her nose drip or that people can hear her as soon as they get off the elevator. Her cries stop just sort of screaming. They make me shiver. I snag a couple of copies of People magazine and I'm out of there. The maternity ward is dangerous because people there are happy. They ask me questions. Who am I waiting for? When is the baby due? Is it my mother? A sister? If I wanted people to ask me questions, I would have gone to school. I say I have to call my father and flee. The cafeteria is cool, huge, full of people wearing doctor and nurse clothes with college degree postures and beepers. I always thought hospital people would be real health nuts, but these guys eat junk food like it's going out of style. Big piles of nachos, cheeseburgers as wide as plates, cherry pie, potato chips, all the good stuff. One lone cafeteria worker named Lola stands by the steamed fish and onion tray. I feel bad for her, so I buy the fish platter. I also buy a plate of mashed potatoes and a gravy. I also buy a plate of mashed potatoes and gravy and a yogurt. I find a seat next to a table of serious, frowning, silver-haired men who use words so long I'm surprised they don't choke. Very official. Nice to hang around people who sound like they know what they're doing. After lunch, I wander up to the 5th floor to an adult surgery wing where waiting family members concentrate on the television. I sit where I can watch the nurse's station, and beyond that, a couple of hospital rooms. It looks like a good place to get sick. The doctors and nurses seem smart, but they smile every once in a while. A laundry room worker pushes an enormous basket of green hospital gowns, the kind that show your butt if you don't hold it closed, to a storage area. I follow him. If anyone asks, I'm looking for a water fountain. No one asks. I pick up a gown. I want to put it on and crawl under the white knobbly blanket and white sheets in one of those high off-the-ground beds and sleep. It is getting harder to sleep at home. All right, this is interesting. I mean, how strange is it that the girl would cut high school and go to a hospital and just walk around? And then she says she actually gets a gown and she's now contemplating getting into one of the empty beds and pretending to be a patient there. She says, maybe I'll take a nap here. She says, it's getting harder to sleep at home. Now, why is it getting harder to sleep at home? Well, what's happening to her at night when she's laying there trying to sleep? She's reliving what's happening to her, right? So it's keeping her awake at night, which means during the days she's exhausted, which is making everything even worse. So look at what this trauma is doing to her. I mean, we already know it's making her bite her lips, bite her nails. You know, she's not cleaning herself very, very well, or her clothes. And now we're finding out she's not sleeping very well. She doesn't speak. I mean, think about all these things that this is doing to her. How long would it take for the nurses to figure out I don't belong here? Would they let me rest for a few days? A stretcher pushed by a tall guy with muscle sweeps down the hall. One woman walks beside it, a nurse. I have no idea what is wrong with the patient, but his eyes are closed and a thin line of blood seeps through a bandage on his neck. I put the gown back. There's nothing wrong with me. These are really sick people, sick that you can see. See, that's interesting. She says there's nothing wrong with me. These are really sick people, sick that you can see. See, what is she really saying? You can see their sickness, but you can't see hers because it's inside her. So she's recognizing that she is sick. You just can't see it. I head for the elevator. The bus is on its way. Flash of the titans. We have a meeting with principal. Someone has noticed that I've been absent, and that I don't talk. They figure I'm more a head case than a criminal, so they call him the guidance counselor too. Mother's mouth twitches with words she doesn't want to say in front of strangers. In other words, mom wants to swear at her daughter for making her, for doing this. Again, no, hun, what's wrong? Why are you not going to your classes? Why are you absent from school? Why are you not doing your work? Why don't you care anymore about your grades? Dad keeps checking his beeper, hoping someone will call. I sip water from a paper cup. If the cup were lead crystal, I would open my mouth and take a bite. Crunch, crunch, swallow. Think about that. If it were crystal, she would crunch on it and swallow. And what would that do? That would really damage her. She would rather do that than have to be here sitting and talking with her parents or anybody else. They want me to speak. Why won't you say anything? For the love of God, open your mouth. This is childish, Melinda. Say something. So again, they're coming at her from a point of anger rather than a point of love. You are only hurting yourself by refusing to cooperate. I don't know why she's doing this to us. Now, again, look at that. That's a very interesting statement that mom just made, or dad. I'm not sure who it is, but I think it's mom. I don't know why she's doing this to us. So they're seeing it as Melinda is hurting them by all of her actions, when in reality, it's really hurting her. And why don't they care about that? What's going on with that? The principal hums loudly and gets in the middle. Principal. We all agree we are here to help. Let's start with these grades. They're not what we expected from you, Melissa. Dad. Melinda. Principal. Melinda. Last year, you were a straight B student. No behavioral problems, few absences. But the reports have been getting, well, what can we say? Now, first of all, the fact that the principal calls her by a different name, Melissa rather than Melinda, shows you he doesn't even care about her. Nobody seems to. Mother, that's the point. She won't say anything. I can't get a word out of her. She's mute. My question to her would be right now, okay, have you actually tried to talk to her rather than yell at her? Have you brought her to somebody that she can speak with, a therapist, a psychiatrist, anybody? Of course, the answer to that would be no. Guidance counselor. I think we need to explore the family dynamics at play here. Now, that's interesting. The guidance counselor understands that there's something wrong with the family. Like they're yelling at this kid who clearly has problems. You would think that if you loved your kid, you would ask her what those problems are. So she's saying, what's wrong with your family? Now, is mom going to like the fact that she's insinuating that there's a problem with their family? And by the way, is there a problem with their family? And the answer is clearly. So let's see. Mother, she's jerking us around to get attention. Me, inside my head. Would you listen? Would you believe me? Fat chance. Oh, man, look at that. So inside her head, she says, would you listen to me? And she says, fat chance. In other words, I don't even think you'd listen to me if I told you what my problem was. And then the next part was, would you believe me? Imagine that. Something unbelievably awful happened to this girl, and she doesn't want to tell her parents because she doesn't think they're listening. And even worse, she doesn't think they would believe her. Dad, well, something is wrong. What have you done to her? I had a sweet, loving little girl last year, but as soon as she comes up here, she clams up, skips school, and flushes her grades down the toilet. I golf with the school board president, you know. Now, that's interesting. Dad says that the problem started when she got to high school. Well, that's just not true, Dad. It started the night of the party, and that was in August. So there was still a couple of weeks after the party before she went to high school that there was clearly something wrong with your daughter, right? Stopped talking to her friends, stopped cleaning herself, started biting her nails, started biting her lips, started sleeping in the closet, stopped talking, for crying out loud. And yet you're blaming the school. Again, blaming is not the same thing as trying to fix. Mother, we don't care who you know, Jack. We have to get Melinda to talk. Guidance counselor leaning forward, looking at mom and dad. Do the two of you have marriage issues? Mother responds with unladylike language. Yeah, mom just swore at the guidance counselor. Father suggests that the guidance counselor visit that hot, scary underground world. Dad said, go to hell. The guidance counselor grows quiet. Maybe she understands why I keep it zipped. Principal sits back in his chair and doodles a hornet. Tick, tick, tick. I'm missing study hall for this. Nap time. How many days until graduation? I lost track. Have to find a calendar. Now think about that. She's counting days until graduation. She's a freshman in her third marking period. I've never met a freshman who counted days until graduation. I've met freshmen who have counted days until summer or until vacation. But it shows you just how much she wants out of this place because, I mean, well, A, it walks around her school and terrorizes her, and B, nobody likes her. Mother and father apologize. They sing a show tune. What are we to do? What are we to do? She's so blue. We're just two. What, oh, what are we supposed to do? In my head world, they jump on principal's desk and perform a tap dance routine. A spotlight flashes on them. A chorus line joins in, and the guidance counselor dances around a spangled cane. I giggle. So look at this. She's not even listening to them. She's off on her own daydream. Zap, back in their world. Mother, you think this is funny? We're talking about your future, your life, Melinda. Father, I don't know where you picked up that slacker attitude, but you certainly didn't learn it at home. Probably from the bad influences up here. Oh, yeah, because their home life is great. You're the greatest father and mother, please. Guidance counselor. Actually, Melinda has some very nice friends. I've seen her helping that group of girls who volunteer so much. Meg Harcutt, Emily Briggs, Saban Fallon. Principal stops doodling. Very nice girls. They all come from good families. He looks at me for the first time and tilts his head to one side. Those are your friends? So 2 things right there. The principal just dissed the family and Melinda. And he says, very nice. Wait, she hangs out with those girls, but they come from good families. I think he's insinuating, and by the way, he's correct, that she does not come from a good family. But then he's like, he tilts his head and looks at her. Those are your friends? He's surprised that Melinda has such good friends. Like, and when I say good, I don't mean like they're actually close with each other. I mean good kids. Like, like she said, like the guidance counselor said, that they participate a lot, they volunteer a lot. Do they choose to be so dense? Were they born that way? I have no friends. I have nothing. I say nothing. I am nothing. I wonder how long it takes to ride a bus to Arizona. Oh my gosh. How do they not see this? Miss, or they just don't care. The guidance counselor sees it. The principal doesn't care. The guidance counselor seems to, but mom and dad don't. At least not yet. Maybe. Let's see. Miss, Meriwether in-school suspension. This is my consequence. It is in my contract. It's true what they tell you about not signing anything without reading it carefully. Even better, pay a lawyer to read it carefully. The guidance counselor dreamed up the contract after our cozy get-together in the principal's office. It lists a million things I'm not supposed to do and the consequences I'll suffer if I do them. The consequences for minor offenses like being late to class or not participating were stupid. They wanted me to write an essay. So I took another day off school and bingo, I earned a trip to Miss. It's a classroom painted white with uncomfortable chairs and a lamp that buzzes like an angry hive. The inmates of Miss are commanded to sit and stare at the empty walls. It is supposed to bore us into submission or prepare us for an insane asylum. Our guard dog today is Mr. Neck. He curls his lip and growls at me. I think this is part of his punishment for that bigoted crap he pulled in class. There are 2 other convicts with me. One has a cross tattooed on his shaved skull. He sits like a granite boy waiting for a chisel so he can carve himself out of the mountainside. The other kid looks completely normal. His clothes are a little freaky maybe, but that's a misdemeanor here, not a felony. When Mr. Neck gets up to greet a late arrival, the normal-looking kid tells me he likes to start fires. Our last companion is Andy Evans. My breakfast turns to hydrochloric acid. He grins at Mr. Neck and sits down next to me. All right, question. Does he sit down next to Melinda on purpose? The answer is absolutely. Why is he doing it? To terrorize her, to torture her. Mr. Neck, cutting again, Andy? Andy Beast. No, sir. One of your colleagues thinks I have an authority problem. Can you believe it? Mr. Neck, no more talking. I am Bunny Rabbit again, hiding in the open. I sit like I have an egg in my mouth. One move, one word, and the egg will shatter and blow up the world. I'm getting seriously weird in the head. When Mr. Neck isn't looking, Andy blows in my ear. So again, look at that. Andy's doing that on purpose to torture and terrorize this poor girl, and it's working. It's driving her crazy. I want to kill him. Picasso. I can't do anything, not even art, not even in art class. Mr. Freeman, a pro at staring out the window himself, thinks he knows what's wrong. Your imagination is paralyzed, he declares. You need to take a trip. Ears perk up all over the classroom and someone turns down the radio. A trip? Is he planning a field trip? You need to visit the mind of a great one, continues Mr. Freeman. Papers flutter as the class sighs. The radio sings louder again. He pushes my pitiful linoleum block aside and gently sends down an enormous book. Picasso, he whispers like a priest. Picasso. Who saw the truth, who painted the truth, molded it, ripped it from the earth with 2 angry hands. He pauses, but I'm getting carried away. I know. See, Picasso, he commands. I can't do everything for you. You must walk alone to find your soul. Blah, blah, yeah. Looking at pictures would be better than watching snowdrift. I open the book. Picasso sure had a thing for naked women. Why not draw them with their clothes on? Who sits around without a shirt on, plucking a mandolin? Why not draw naked guys, just to be fair? Naked women is art. Naked guys are no-no, I bet. Probably because most painters are men. I don't like the first chapters. Besides all the naked women, he painted these blue pictures, like he ran out of red and green for a few weeks. He painted circus people and some dancers who looked like they are standing in smog. He should have made them cough. The next chapter steals my breath away. It takes me out of the room. It confuses me while one little part of my brain jumps up and down screaming, I get it, I get it. Cubism. Seeing beyond what is on the surface, moving both eyes and a nose to the side of the face, dicing bodies and tables and guitars as if they were celery sticks and rearranging them so that you have to really see them to see them. Amazing. What did the world look like to him? I wish he had gone to high school at Merriweather. I bet we could have hung out. I searched the whole book and never see one picture of a tree. Maybe Picasso couldn't do trees either. Why did I get stuck with such a lame idea? I sketch a cubist tree with hundreds of skinny rectangles for branches. They look like lockers, boxes, glass shards, lips with triangle brown leaves. I drop the sketch on Mr. Freeman's desk. Now you're getting somewhere, he says. He gives me a thumbs up. Look at what she did. She sketches a cubist tree with hundreds of skinny rectangles for branches. They look like lockers, boxes, glass shards, lips with triangle brown leaves. Let's just keep that in mind, that in her picture, the leaves look like little lips. And those leaves, of course, are closed lips because, I know leaves don't talk, but not only that, but neither does Melinda. And we'll talk about that as we go forward, that the tree is actually going to become kind of a symbol for herself. And we'll talk about that as we move on. Excellent job, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow.